Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. On Capitol Hill, the House has approved a $95 billion foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. The House also approved a bill that could lead to a ban on the social media app TikTok. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson pushed the bills forward despite growing Republican calls for him to resign, in part over his support for supporting $61 billion in aid to Ukraine. The Ukraine bill passed by a vote of 311 to 112. Every Democrat who voted supported the measure. The $26 billion Israel aid bill passed by a vote of 366 to 58. 37 Democrats and 21 Republicans opposed the bill. Opponents of the bill included Texas Democratic Congressmember Joaquin Castro.
All of us have seen the tragedy of Gaza. We have seen how Prime Minister Netanyahu's government has used American weapons to kill indiscriminately, to force famine. Over 25,000 women and children dead. Tens of thousands of missiles and bombs levied on innocent civilians. We cannot escape what we see before us every day. Are we going to participate in that carnage or not? I choose not to.
In Gaza, Palestinian civil defense workers have found at least 210 bodies buried in a mass grave in the courtyard of the Nasser Medical Complex in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis. The discovery comes 2 weeks after Israeli forces withdrew from the hospital. Al Jazeera reports many of the bodies found included children, young men, and older women. Some reportedly had their hands tied behind their backs. Palestinians have been searching the hospital grounds for bodies of loved ones killed during the Israeli siege.
It is a difficult scene. Beyond what you can imagine. It is a difficult scene for someone to bring back the body of a dear human being.
The official death toll in Gaza has topped 34,000, including more than 14,000 children. Over the weekend, Israeli strikes on Rafah killed at least 22 people, including 18 children. One of the strikes killed a Palestinian man, his wife, who was 30 weeks pregnant, and their 4-year-old daughter. Doctors at a nearby hospital performed an emergency cesarean section on the dead mother and delivered her child. Dr. Mohammed Salama is the head of the neonatal intensive care unit at Al Emirati Hospital in Rafah.
The
baby girl came out in a tragic situation. She came out and found herself an orphan directly, came into life without care. As soon as she came, she had a moderate to severe respiratory distress. The name that came out was Baby of a Martyr. And this in itself, a hard word, a tragic word. Even as we write this label, our hands tremble. The thing is hard.
In the occupied West Bank, Palestinians staged a general strike Sunday after Israeli forces killed at least 14 Palestinians during a 50-hour siege on the Nur Shams refugee camp in the city of Tulkarm. Residents of Nur Shams said the Israeli raid left the camp uninhabitable.
Seeing it is not like hearing about it. You can see with your eyes what happened, destruction. Gaza number 2, what happened is that they left no trees, nor people, nor stones. It is unbearable, uninhabitable by humans. What happened is destruction, destruction. They turned the camp into something uninhabitable. It is terrible.
In a separate incident, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society reports Israeli settlers shot dead a Palestinian ambulance driver south of Nablus as he was trying to reach Palestinians injured during a raid by Israeli settlers. Mohammed Awad Al-Musa was a 50-year-old volunteer paramedic with the Palestine Red Crescent. This comes as the Biden administration is reportedly preparing to issue sanctions on Netzah Yehuda Battalion, an ultra-Orthodox Israeli military unit accused of committing human rights abuses against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. In other news, Israel's chief of military intelligence has resigned. Major General Aharon Haliva is the first senior Israeli official to resign over Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. In his resignation letter, Haliva wrote, quote, "The intelligence directorate under my command did not live up to the task we were entrusted with." He also called for a state commission to investigate intelligence failures prior to October 7th. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid praised Haliva's decision to resign and called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to follow suit. Columbia University has canceled in-person classes today as campus protests over the war on Gaza enter a sixth day. Classes will be held online today as the campus remains largely locked down. The protests have swelled after the arrest last week of over 100 students who'd set up an encampment to call for the school to divest from Israel. Organizers say at least 50 students have been suspended from Barnard and 35 from Columbia. A growing number of Columbia and Barnard alumni, employees, and guest speakers have also publicly condemned or announced they're boycotting the prestigious institutions. Meanwhile, Gaza solidarity protests and encampments have begun on campuses across the country, including at Yale, MIT, Tufts, NYU, the New School, and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Officials at USC, that's the University of Southern California, have canceled all outside speakers at this year's graduation ceremonies, including John Chu, the director of Crazy Rich Asians, and tennis legend Billie Jean King. The decision comes days after the school sparked outrage by canceling a speech by the valedictorian Asna Tabassum over what the school claimed were safety reasons. Tabassum is a first-generation South Asian American Muslim who'd expressed support for Palestinians.